Today, or tonight, or whatever dimension you're existing in, I thought I would discuss the battle of the cultists. The battle between these New Ager charlatans, which are so rampant in our culture today. They steal and regurgitate old teachings and old philosophies, claim them to be for themselves, written by themselves, and published by hack publishers. And it's kind of unfortunate because this regurgitation is kind of vomiting up a bunch of internal nonsense upon the culture. Not that I really care about culture, being a Luciferian. Luciferian more taps into the dark energy of the cosmos and utilizes it to bend reality to his will. And that is pretty much the crux of it. But these other types exploit sheep, exploit slaves, like Teal Swan or some woman known as Ma-Nithya. They are half-baked. They utilize a lot of the same old, tired cult techniques of manipulation, divide and conquer, separate from normal family standards, and so on. And so does L.Ron Hubbard and his sci-fi Ponzi scheme, Scientology, very similar. They all use similar techniques. Even Joel Osteen, who is just basically a heretic preacher who sells Christ and the old Jesus racket and so on, exploits the sick in the old, drive an expensive Bugatti vehicle and live in mansions and so on. And that's what basically a lot of these heretics aspire to do, through the exploitation of the sheep. A Luciferian, a Satanist, or, this kind of situation, which is much more involved than it was even 50 years ago, based on Countess Bathory or Lord Byron or Francis Bacon or Machiavelli or any of the previous ones, and looking at the entirety of the history of satanic thought, you have to encompass all of this. But these others, they basically steal and regurgitate and take from Indian culture, like Ma-Nithya or whatever, and they think there's some kind of teacher or something. These hacks are so ridiculous. It's kind of like, the same old nonsense resold, like some guy named Molyneux who did a recent thing on Satanism. I doubt the guy even knows where his ass is. I mean, he's an ass end ignorant fuck, really. I mean, the situation for Satanism is so beyond the grasp of these type of people, and they would be terrified to experience the real power that Satanism can garner, or Luciferian, or whatever you want to call it. It is the grand crux of black magic, the manipulation of reality, bending it to your will and making it more for yourself. But these New Ager wager slaves, seek to, exploit and stifle and steal and be the general heretics they are. And it's very lowbrow, very low class exploitation. These New Age concepts are nothing new. Nothing new. They are all based on previous things. Now, indeed, philosophy is based on a pattern, and it is learning and seeking and power that we build off and we learn from any of the great teachers and so on. I can understand this. But these types take the teachings unto themselves. They say that they are the ones that bring the grand thought. It's not true. They are just regurgitating what they've learned, twisting it, and line for line rewriting it, grand plagiarism or whatever, and then proclaiming it to be some kind of, great thing sent by the masters. It was even 100 years ago, who I actually have a respect for, Madame Blavatsky, was probably the last one in that line that had real insight into certain things. But these others that have come along in the past 100 years, not even really in the past decade, are a joke. And those that are following their rulings or teachings or whatever you want to call it need to run for the hills. Scientology, sci-fi Ponzi scheme nonsense. Teal Swan is just a garden variety charlatan, nothing new under the sun there. Ma-Nithya, self-proclaimed narcissist, self-righteous, attacks Teal Swan, saying this is false and so on. And anyone who says this is false, or they bring their grand, self-righteous proclamation, is a heretic. Because you don't need to. Don't worry about the sheep. Let the sheep cull themselves. Let the sheep die of their own avail. You don't need to take on all that. You're trying to proclaim that you're bringing some grand light. You're just using that as a tool of exploitation. It's like Joel Osteen, no different. His big church and his preaching bullshit that he sells to the slaves, and it's unfortunate. And me myself, being a practitioner of black magic, I don't seek to have thousands of followers. I don't care about it. I don't care about views or any of this nonsense that these people buy into. We need to have more views. Or, my charlatanism needs to not be so revealed, so I'm going to do some tapes on it, or I'm going to give to the poor a little bit, and 90% goes to me. It's 1%, and the 99% you get 100% sheeple. Now, it's important to know this, because if you buy into this Terra framework nonsense, this earth world bullshit, you're going to sell yourself short. I cast spells, I manipulate reality, I change people's lives like that. These other people, they can't do that. They can't bring down the universe, make it happen for them. They can't break the curse or bring the curse. They can't evoke. These people are slaves, and they are regurgitating, and they irritate me. The New Ager wager sold itself out in the 1960s along with a lot of other charlatans. And, people buy into this and so on. And narcissism is at an all-time high. Like Ma-Nithya, she is so into herself. She loves herself. I mean, most people do, and ego is great, but to be honest, as an evolved satanic philosopher, you don't need to worry about ego anymore. Even Anton LaVey was into his ego and his aesthetic, but he was not a spiritual being. These others are proclaiming to be. If it's going to be theater, then it's going to be theater. And that's what this half-baked nonsense is. Like Teal Swan proclaiming a satanic background. It makes me laugh. What a joke. I don't believe for 5 seconds that bitch had anything to do with Satanism. And the same thing with this Molyneux guy or whatever. He did some recent video blog on demons or something, or Satanism. This guy doesn't know about Satanism. It's hilarious to look at this guy. He's like a beta boy who probably scared to go out of his house without his mommy holding his hand. He even says he has his woman pay for him or something. He doesn't have the balls to get something else going on. So, their satanic background is like a joke. It's old satanic panic things that New Agers do, and they're terrified of it, to be honest. It's just kind of ridiculous. And I thought I'd do this video in order to enlighten people on trying to avoid the cults. You need to find a power within yourself. Manipulate and bend the cosmos. Tap into that dark energy that's accelerating our universe. And use it in your magic. And use it in your mental psychic projection. And things will come your way. You don't need to buy into these liars, heretics, gurus, Jesus racket preachers, or any of this other kind of self-proclaimed New Ager Christ consciousness bullshit. You need to find the path of darkness that you're on. Mankind is inherently evil. We remove the boundaries of law, you will see how good people really are. They will take the pulls and the guns and the weapons, and there will be so much death. You remove the boundaries of law, you will have only endless death endlessly. Because mankind seeks to cull itself, perfect itself in satanic consciousness, drive itself into the universe and conquer forth. It's not about this half-baked nonsense, I'm scared, safe space, need to buy into some guru bullshit or proclaim that I'm a alien god or something, like Teal Swan, she proclaims herself to be part alien or something. More than likely, we're all aliens. We're all aliens on this planet. We're becoming more alien every day because we should have gotten off of it 1,000 years ago. But due to our own ignorance and mankind's progression to self-destruction, which is innate in its cleansing process, and as we delve towards the satanic singularity, which is imminent, it'll be an interesting time for all of mankind. Ironically, though, and this is kind of interesting, all of the New Age gurus and teachers, or whatever they want to call themselves, in my opinion, just heretics or garden variety charlatans, they do agree with me on one point. Islam is a pestilence. Islam is not a race. That belief system, if it's encompassed, if it engulfs the world, will set mankind back to its Stone Age, truly will, and it will annihilate mankind to where there is no progression. I think the black magic practitioner and the Luciferian is all that would be left, a bulwark against it. It would be a really fierce battle, and it would be glorious. And more than likely, as even Nostradamus predicted, it could happen, that these animals, these savages of Islam come up against the brunt of the blow of the satanic black magic practitioners, and it'd just be a one huge engulfing apocalypse. And it's been talked about for hundreds of years. I mean, it's happened before, even when Lord Byron went and sent his armies off and fought with the armies against the Islamic horde, or like Countess Bathory did, or Vlad Tepes, or any of the great Satanists in the past that had come up against the Islamic onslaught. But I'm deviating, and I've gone kind of on a ramble today. Because you know what? I don't read from platforms. I don't have pre-described disciples telling me things. I'm not, have some grand backdrops or some nonsense where I'm showing different all this. I am very real, and I don't care about followers. I don't care about narcissism. I don't care about having views. I don't care about having millions of supposed apostles or disciples or followers. I am only caring about those real black magic practitioners that want to bend reality to your will and make something really happen. Do you want to be rich or do you want to be poor? Do you want to be an engulfing spiritual power that will take on the universe and be one with it, which we are? We are one with Lucifer. We are one with this. We are one with the darkness. We are one with the left-hand path. These others are not one with anything. They are one with some kind of materialistic endeavor, severed from themselves. Joel Osteen wrote a book called I Am Power. It's a joke. If you're into Christ's supposed consciousness, how can you proclaim yourself to be I am power? So that in itself shows the charlatanism, the narcissism, the reflection that their ego, that they stand above all, bringing judgments to others like Ma-Nithya, who proclaims, that Teal Swan is evil and so on, and Teal Swan doing her garden variety nonsense, which has been done 1,000 times over. These battle the cultists are going on. And it's kind of entertaining. So as we true black magic practitioners are going forth into the world and bending it and pushing out with a satanic ambition, let's laugh while these heretics just rip each other apart. And it's going to happen continuously. I think more exponentially over the next decade.